Welcome to Tales from Tech Support, where OP does exactly as he's told, and an entire business segment crumbles. In our next post, OP just does his job and shuts up. The software company I work for got acquired. Some people were let go, some were added, and some teams and functions were restructured. Prior to acquisition, we had a multiple hats situation where you basically did whatever was in your capacity. Teams played to each other's strengths, and one person would generally take a client from the first demo right through the configuration, implementing, and training phases of the software. Some of us had strengths in technical areas, while others had a decade plus in the client's subject matter. Clients would give us some feedback or wish lists. We'd talk amongst the team and how the functionality could be added or changed and make a functional mock-up. Then bring that to the development team for a polish and integration into the production code. It worked wonderfully. Like 100% positive feedback and nothing broken when it went into production. We had a good rapport with the dev guys, and some of us were able to write queries or code portions that would save them from having to task billions of subject matter questions. When we weren't dedicated to a task, we'd handle support calls. Clients would call up and receptionists learn who to pass things to based on the clients and the nature of issues, and resolution was typically instantaneous unless the problem required research. Clients loved that and had the understanding that if we couldn't resolve the problem right away, it was because we needed to look into it. After the acquisition, the parent company reorganized things into a much more rigid, you have one job type of scenario. The trouble was, with the people they let go, I was the singular remaining source of a lot of the capacities we provided. It left me working with the sales, product improvement and concept, production evangelist, implementation, development, data conversion, and support teams. Initially, I didn't mind. It wasn't any different than my previous role. Things started nicely enough with the company's CEO genuinely asking, would you mind helping X team with Y project? And he'd pick up my travel bar tabs and toss me a day off here and there. It was a fair exchange and he treated it as though I was doing him a favor. But at some point, all these other departments expected and demanded my time. Instead of people asking when I could help them on a project, I would just find time blocks added to my schedule for various things. A couple of times, I was supposed to be chairing these meetings and having things prepared, and no one even bothered to tell me. Around the same time, I noticed a lot of recommendations I made for when people were asking input got overturned by people in new roles who had no idea what they were talking about. As in literally had no exposure to the subject matter and had never seen the software. Plus, no programming and logic or database experience. So, my input is demanded, but also ignored. And this was causing more demands on my time when things were broken or didn't meet clients' expectations. Plus, the new dev team I was working with made every excuse not to act unless someone went and confirmed and fetched everything they needed. I was really unhappy in a job that I had previously loved. Every day was worse than the last. And then I got my employee review. It was top notch, and yet I got the same cost of living raise as everyone else. It particularly burned my butt that the sales guys were getting commission on sales that I had done, and I was shafted. At the original company, effort above and beyond was well rewarded. I even doubled my starting salary in a few years' time for hard work. Now I was miserable, overdrawn, and got nothing for it. I was having daily arguments with my boss who was completely indifferent to all my commitments and refused to understand that I couldn't compel third-party companies to do my timely bidding to get client data or access. Out of nowhere, I get a call from the head of the department conversions department. He says a few of his people have noticed some high-level solutions to dev or data problems in the Teams chats that come from some random guy from the implementations in no time. Then he was talking to a pre-existing client about converting a set of financial data from a legacy system that I had converted some building, code, fire planning, and police data from, and they asked if they could have me do it specifically because my conversion of their data was flawless, and I granted them some change requests on the way through to make their lives easier. He said the client wouldn't stop gushing about me, and he was floored to hear that I had done the whole thing myself, where his team typically breaks the responsibilities between 5 or more people. He offered me a position on the spot, and I told him I was interested and I'd think about it. He told me I could start doing some stuff with him part-time a few hours a week if I wanted it that way. He then told me he saw the BS that I was dealing with and said he'd get the other departments off my plate. I liked this guy right away. My current boss then interrupted our call, seeing me talking to that guy in our in-house phone app, and demanded to know what I was wasting my time on. She then proceeded to berate me about open orders and my lack of documentation about their lack of progress. You have time to BS with him, but you can't call a client? I tried to tell her for the millionth time about all the expectations from the other departments, the obligations they leave beyond their timeframes, the inability I have to force other companies to do things for us no matter how many times I tell the client. She told me, I'm done with your excuses. Just do your job and shut up. I called the conversions head right back and asked how soon I could transfer to his department full-time. He said, yesterday, dude. This is such good news. I was just talking to the assistant department manager and he was about to crap his pants when I said that I think I got you part-time. Take the rest of the day off, dude. Have a beer and celebrate. I'll handle the transfer and we'll see you in the morning. And that was that. I did just as my new boss commanded and had a beer to celebrate. A wave of relief came over me after months of tension. The following day, I told the vampire department and my previous boss in no uncertain terms that I was done helping them. It went unacknowledged and they continue adding things to my calendar. So I just deleted them. I did my job and I shut up. Things got ugly. I'm not super talented or anything, but I was literally the only person they had for a lot of things, and things went to crap. Most of it requires institutional knowledge, and I had spent years acquiring it, so they couldn't even hire someone to do those things. And rather than come back and ask me for help, people made demands and attacks. And I got flat out belligerent about it. In an email with the CEO CC'd, the support manager asked why I couldn't be bothered to help them anymore. And I said, for the same reason, you can't be bothered to clean the toilets or recable the building. Not my job. My previous boss told me to just do my job and shut up, so take it up with her. The sales and evangelist guys tried to go over my head and ask my new boss if I could do some of their demos. He said, sure, if you come over here and do some of his conversions. Numbers tanks for the departments I was previously involved with, support in particular. They went from a 2-hour average resolution to 8 days. Sales for my product went down from 85% success to less than 25%. Dev and product went from 100% customer satisfaction to 60%. Implementations has been completely unable to install certain components, which led to at least one contract cancellation and a demand for a refund. And in true storybook fashion, my previous boss's boss, the one that gave me the previous employee review and who is a childhood friend of the CEO, told me privately that the CEO noticed that all the departments that I worked for stopped working completely and saw their worst numbers in the company history. Weird. And asked, anything in particular that pushed the guy over the edge? My previous boss's boss explained that I was mad about the review raise having nothing to do with merit effort, the demand from other departments, the unrealistic and impossible expectations, and the idiotic requirements for documentation. So, this year and going forward, there are 2 criteria for yearly raises. Individual output and department output. No raises for people with negative performance numbers. Upon that announcement, some department heads up and quit and others changed positions internally. Meanwhile, I've written a few utilities for my team that have saved thousands of hours of manual work. Our numbers are soaring where they were previously up and down, and my new boss is driving the bus full of our laughing butts all the way to the bank. In our next post, OP becomes the printer IT person because his coworker can't boil water. I was working in an administrative job, but I was the de facto IT guy. It was a terrible, thankless job, but it gave me the experience to get where I'm at now. And most of my coworkers were cool. Most. One day, I had to leave in a hurry and the main printer was low on black toner, so I showed one of my coworkers where the toner was and left. I need to explain 2 things. This printer had the easiest toner refilling I've ever seen. It was literally 3 steps beginning to end, and the toner came straight out and went right back in without any kind of finagling. This particular coworker was an idiot of the highest order. He had an IQ to rival that of a knockoff Chia Pet, and this was well known in the office. He was over 40 and had 0 discernible marketing skills of any kind. The kind of coworker that is just demoralizing to be around because somehow you both get paid the same amount. Like I said, I was in a hurry and I absolutely had to leave. I had a tiny bit of faith in the aforementioned coworker. I came in the next morning to find black toner all over the carpet and in front of the printer. He had somehow decided that opening the toner cartridge itself was part of the changing process and hadn't bothered to clean it up when he spectacularly failed. The result? No, the coworker didn't get in trouble. I got in trouble for not staying to change the toner myself and was told to not let it happen again. Oh, and I had to clean up the carpet. If you have a coworker like that, tell us about it in the comments below. That was Tales from Tech Support. And if you like this content, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to smash that like button too, as it also helps the channel out.